I mean, that is such a wonderful answer, and there's so much to unpick of what you've just talked about there. I think particular things that stood out for me for what you're discussing there is this notion of kind of cultural heritage, aristocracy, and it's going beyond just a typical learning experience in school of maths and art, but there is something deeper going on within that experience of STEAM education and the relationship to real life kind of learning, being, and doing. And actually, one of the questions that I had for you perhaps goes into that a little bit deeper. So I've got my question here. I'm going to read it out to you. So mathematics and science education are often based on the concept of mind-body dualism, in which the mind and body are seen as separate entities. However, your work challenges this through the exploration of embodying mathematical concepts. And I think that's what you've just started to kind of talk about and unpick a little bit in your explanation to the past question. But I'm just wondering if you could unpick that a little bit further for me, that notion of embodying.
Yes, so current neuroscience and also supported by philosophy and also anthropology tells us that what's the origin of mathematics, because just like art and just like many how can I call this really complex tools and also bridges to our imagination are tend to be a little bit mystic. That what are the roots of these and where they are coming from. This is another long story, but how we see these things today on scientific ground, of course. There are many research tells about that, how this big invention in mathematics, abstract thinking and systematic abstract thinking, and creating a perfect reality or another reality where everything is exact and perfect, measurable, countable, punctual, is not born in a vacuum, of course, but though it's very connected to the language, and also that how to use the language on a certain way to be clear, perfectly clear about what we want to say. So this is the beginning of formalisms and also formal expression and formal thinking as such. These are not unrelated to that we are bodily embodied beings, that we not only thinking brains, but we have a body, and of course it has also a long history. That was the relation with the between the body and the mind, and is there dualism or even more complicated things are happening here, but that's how we see it today, that this embodied way of having the first steps in building up also the abstract thought and the perfect thought, that might be also helpful, especially for those who are outside yet of this accultured way of thinking about mathematics, who are outside to be part of it. And very many times there is a big gap between for example, early childhood learning and school learning. And when the formal mathematics is starting, is the school level of learning. And in this case, it's important to recognize that how you can introduce mathematical terms without using other mathematical terms or concepts to introduce these new terminology and new concepts.